The attacks on the U.S. Capitol, the coronavirus pandemic, and a nationwide focus on voting rights have renewed the debate around the movement to make Washington, D.C. the 51st state of the U.S.
I'm upset that 706,000 residents of the District of Columbia did not have a single vote in that Congress yesterday, despite the fact that our people were putting their lives on the line to protect our democracy.
You know, in the coronavirus crisis, we all saw how governors had to step up and lead last year. And just getting our mayor on the calls to coordinate with those governors was a challenge because her title is mayor and not governor.
The movement for D.C. statehood centers on representation and voting rights, especially the way in which U.S. citizens are represented in federal politics. The U.S. Congress is divided into the Senate and the House of Representatives. In the House, there are 435 voting representatives who are elected and represent a district in each state based on population. California, the most populous state, has 53 representatives, while Wyoming, the least populous state, has 3. In the Senate, there are 100 voting members, with 2 assigned to each state, regardless of population. California and Wyoming both have 2 senators, with California's 2 senators representing 40 million people and Wyoming's representing only 580,000. Washington, D.C. residents have 2 shadow senators and only 1 delegate to the House of Representatives, all of whom have no voting privileges. Proponents of D.C. statehood argue that this means the district's 700,000 residents are being denied their constitutional right to representation. They also note that Washington, D.C. has a greater population than the states of Wyoming and Vermont, both of which have congressional representation. The motto, "Taxation without representation," is a rallying cry for those seeking statehood and features on the standard issue license plates for cars in the city. According to the 2019 Internal Revenue Service data book, the District of Columbia pays more in federal taxes than 21 states, and more per capita than any other state. Republicans, who are generally against statehood, argue that the move is a power grab designed to tip the balance of the Senate in favor of Democrats by adding a state, and therefore 2 senators, from a city that is historically liberal. Some propose that instead, D.C., which was originally carved from lands from neighboring states Maryland and Virginia, cede back that land and have their residents vote and be represented by those states.
If offered, I will vote to return residential portions of D.C. to Maryland, thus giving D.C. citizens the power to vote.
D.C. statehood proponents say this ignores the unique and separate cultural and racial identities of Washingtonians. Another point of contention includes the city's role as the nation's capital. The Constitution sets out a capital city not exceeding 10 miles square that would become the seat of government of the United States. Opponents of statehood say this means the city should operate as a neutral ground for the nation's politics to play out, and that making it a state will give it unjust power over the federal government and be unconstitutional. Because of this, D.C. statehood proposals include carving an area around the White House, the Capitol, the Supreme Court, and the National Mall to create a federal district named the Capitol that would still be under those 10 square miles and operate independently. The rest of the city's residential and commercial areas would become the state of Washington Douglas Commonwealth, in honor of the abolitionist Frederick Douglass.
My service in the Congress has been dedicated to achieving equality for the people I represent, which only statehood can provide.